Hi everyone, I'm Scott from Sharkey's Floral and Greenhouses, and today we're talking about repotting your indoor plants. Now there's several different reasons why you would want to repot one of your indoor plants, and I'll kind of go through some of those, but you can see that I have a great big peace lily here and it's doing one of these, but we have just watered this like a day ago. So we really have to diagnose, okay, what's going on with this plant? And this plant is just too big for its container, and it's just at that point where it's outgrowing the container and it's just drawing up that moisture just way too fast. So this is in that category of where we need to think about replanting this. And a lot of you are kind of scared to do that because we get in our floral shop a lot. You know, the people will come in and they'll want us to redo it. I'm like, no, you should try and do it for yourself. It's really not that hard, and that's what we're going to go through today. But like I said, there's several different reasons. So this peace lily is just too big and is drinking too quickly. So we need to give it more soil so that it can have a little bit more room to draw that moisture. Now another reason for repotting a plant, this Warneke it's just way too top heavy. So if I set this down, it's just gonna flop right over. And the reason is that there's more weight up top than there is on the bottom. So this is another category where we have to repot it, and we wanna get that soil and get a little bit of weight and heft to it and keep it from tipping over. And there might just be some categories where you just wanna dress something up, like this pothos plant. It's not too big. There's no reason that it really needs to be replanted at this point, but we want to put it into this nice ceramic container to just kind of dress it up. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But we first want to start with this peace lily that we're going to go ahead and put into this nice ceramic pot. And as I take off this bottom container, and you just want to be careful and just kind of shake it and move it back and forth. There might be roots coming out the bottom. There isn't on this one, but you can see that here's the reason this needs to be replanted. Look at all the roots. It's just full of roots and it's root bound. So it's really at that point where we want to go ahead and get it into this container. Now I'm going to go ahead and we've got this nice table here and we don't want to scratch it or get it messy. So I went down and put this covering on top, and just makes the cleanup a whole lot easier. Plus we're not scratching the table. So we're going to go from here into this ceramic container, but first I'm going to start with my soil. And I've got, you know that I'm a stickler when it comes to good soil, good quality soil. And we use SunGrow in our greenhouses, and we also use Jolly Gardener. Those are two really good quality soils. You have to have good quality soil. You just have to, otherwise the plants are not going to perform. And like I said, you know me, you know that I have a strong opinion on this. And this SunGrow, this all-purpose Growers Mix is a good quality soil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get just maybe about an inch of soil at the bottom first, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the plant into it, and then I'm going to work around it and fill in that gap and fill in the sides. So when you look at the container, this container is almost about the same height as my ceramic pot. If there's a big difference, I might have to add 2 or 3 inches of soil. So we want to keep that plant up, and we don't want it to be down too far. So I'm going to go ahead and throw maybe a ½ inch or inch of soil at the bottom. And this is going to make kind of a mess, but that's okay. I've got my blanket down. So that's going to be good for now. So you can see I've got the bottom just kind of covered. Yeah, these are really handy too, these little trays that keeps the water where it's supposed to be when we go through and water this. So I'm going to pull this out. And here's another thing to look at. Look at all these leaves. This peace lily was under stress. Okay, so what was happening is it was getting water, going dry, getting water, going dry, getting water, going dry. That causes stress. Now, whether it's an indoor plant or an outdoor plant, like a great big petunia hanging basket, plants do not like to do that cycle of wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry. They kind of like that consistent, and especially a peace lily that drinks a lot of water. So this is a sign of stress, and we're going to clean those up once we get this repotted. So in we go. It's going to go into my container. So this nice ceramic container. You can see that the level is just about right. I'm fine with right at this level. It's not down too deep. It's not up too high. It's right at a good level for me. And I'm going to go through, and there's at least that much of a gap all the way around. So that's a good thing. We're going to be able to put a lot of soil into this ceramic container, and it's going to give this plant a lot more soil to draw moisture from, and then it can continue to grow. So I'm going to go through and fill this up and get a little bit closer. This, like I said, this is going to be a mess. We do this we have a great big potting area in our greenhouse, and it's always dirty, of course, because we're in a greenhouse and we're using soil a lot. So I'm just going to continue around, filling it in. I'm going to kind of get it filled in, and then I'm going to go through and stick my hands in and just kind of pack it down a little bit. You don't want it real tight, but we do want this plant to be stable. I don't want it leaning one way or the other, and this is a good spot right now where I can go through and get it right in the middle. And sometimes plants will grow at a different angle. So it's nice is at this point, if it's a little bit crooked, we can adjust that in the soil. So I go through, and I'm just grabbing handfuls. I'm not being careful. See, this is where people really get intimidated, and you just have to get your hands dirty and get in there and get right into it. Fill her up. This is a nice size container or size of soil. It's 16 quart. It gives you a lot of soil, but it's not too heavy. A lot of our customers are females, and they might be a little bit older. They don't like these great big bags of soil. So this is a nice size. This is probably about 10 pounds maybe. So it's easy to handle, and this is actually available on Amazon. And I'll put the link for the soil, the SunGrow soil, in the description of this video. So that's going to be pretty good right there. I'm just going to pack through a little bit more, and then I'll find my spots where I need a little bit more soil. That should be good. So now the next thing I'm going to do is, it's in my tray. So once I do water it, any water that comes through the soil will be caught in this little tray, which is nice. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot of our Beat Your Neighbor fertilizer too, so to get everything really growing and get that soil saturated with good nutrients and get this plant kick-started back into a grow mode. So that's going to be good there. I'm going to call that one done. But like I said, yeah, it's a little bit messy. This is something we do every day, so I'm pretty used to the mess. So now we're going to move on to this pothos. And like I said with this one, it's not at a point where it has to be repotted, that it's too big or that it's showing signs of stress or anything like that. We just want to put it into a little more decorative pot. But this ceramic pot does not have drainage hole. So that can be a problem. So for one, when I'm doing this, I have to know that. I have to know that up front, that I really have to watch my watering, because we don't want this sitting in water. So when I'm watering it, I have to be careful. And the other thing is, when I'm going to go through and transplant this, I do want to give a little buffer room at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is add some gravel. So just a handful of this peat gravel, or two or three handfuls, and that's going to give a little buffer zone at the bottom of this ceramic pot that gives a little bit of room for, if there's too much water, that it will catch that, because we don't have drainage holes on this ceramic container. So I'm going to do one more handful in there, and then I'm going to go through and give it just a little bit of soil at the bottom. That should be good. So we're ready to roll. We're ready to transplant and repot this. Go through, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. I'm not a fan of ruffling up the roots, Some people think that you have to ruffle up the roots. You know what, I never do it. So, and our plants are just fine. But there's some gardening gurus that will tell you they have to go through and crunch up the roots. I'm not one of them. Yeah, we grow 500,000 plants a year, so it's just not something I ever do. There's a little bit of room on the outside here, so I'm gonna go through. Again, this is messy, but that's why we put down the towel. And I'm probably only gonna get 2 or 3 handfuls of soil in here. I'm gonna just take my finger and kind of push down, get my plant right into the center, and around we go. Shake it a little bit. If it's crooked, this is the time to go ahead, and if it's leaning maybe too far this way, push down on this side and get it to pull back a little bit. This is the time to go ahead and center up that plant and get it right where you want it to be. So maybe one last handful in here. We don't want it too full because then there's no room for the water. So that is going to be good right there. Just push it down, get it in there, tap it, that's good to go. So it's that simple. Don't be intimidated by doing this. It's kind of fun. It should be an enjoyment, and you should be able to enjoy your plants and flowers. So that's how to repot your plants if they need it. So going through that list of reasons of why you might need to jump up to the next size container. And now this one has these leaves. I'm gonna go through and trim this up, get it cleaned up, and we're gonna have a brand new, nice looking planter. Water it, fertilize it with the Beat Your Neighbor fertilizer. By 6-8 hours, this will be a totally different plant. So I hope you enjoyed that. Go ahead and give it a shot. Replant your pots when they need to be. Thanks for watching.